Today I'm going to show you how to make API calls using Postman, a Google plugin to your Google Chrome. So before we start, please make sure you download Postman REST Client shortcut from the Chrome Web Store. Once downloaded, it should appear as a little icon in your navigation bar. Before we start, we need to make sure that we have the proper headers set up. So if you go to headers, please make sure that your content type accepts application JSON. We'll be making API calls with JSON objects. To start your session, first you need to log into an OpenX UI in the same Google Chrome browser. Once logged in, you can test your access by making any API call. So this is my UI domain, the structure of an API call, aux/4.0, and then the object class. So just to do a quick view, just get LineItem. And if I have proper access, it should return an array of JSON objects of all different line items in my system. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate some simple edits, mainly editing an order and editing a line item. Just simple configurations. We will not be covering targeting, editing targeting at this point. So to edit an order, we'll go to the order object. And just so you can see what I'm editing, let's look at an order. So here's the order that we'll be working on. Okay, and the main parts, I apologize, we said order. Okay, here's the order. The main parts we'll edit is simply the name and start and end date, which are the most common edits for an order. Okay, so in order to start and just edit an existing order, you'll need to know the order's UID, which can be found once you click into the order, which is right here. Okay, so once we have a UID, that's the required field to do an edit. We can alter any additional columns in that particular order object. So just so that you're aware, anything, if you would like to know what parameters you can edit or what parameters or parameter names are available, you can always go to the order object class and search for available fields. The available fields will tell you the name of the parameter, whether it's required or false. For just edits, what's required is just the UID of the different objects. And if you're unaware, if it's a specific drop-down value and you're unaware of what the value should be, there should be a URL that tells you what the values are. So if I utilize this URL, it will tell me all the options for model types of an order. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and make an edit to this order. To make edits, we'll go to the order object, execute a put, and we'll submit one JSON object. So I have an object pre-formatted already. Because it's expecting an array of objects in this JSON format, we'll need to encapsulate the object in square brackets. So let's make a change here so we know what we're seeing. And then simply submit. If there's no errors, you should just get an easy readback of that object. And as you can see, it's changed here. And if we go back into our UI, it should change that specific order name. Okay, great. So if you wanted to do multiple edits, it is possible. You would just have to separate the JSON objects with a comma. So here's multiple objects ready to make an edit. We'll encapsulate them in a square bracket and then separate them by a comma. So this will allow you to make multiple changes at a time. Let's make another change. As you can see, now there's A and now there's B. If we go back to this order, it should have changed those two orders under this API call advertiser. Okay, great. In a similar fashion, you could do the same thing for a line item. The required field for a line item is just the line item's UID, and you can retrieve that in the OpenX UI by going and clicking on an order, and let's actually go to one that actually has a line item and selecting a line item. And here's the line item UID. So I do have a JSON call already pre-prepared. So I'm just having one JSON object, line item object, so there's no commas needed, but I do require square brackets. You'll just make sure that you have all the proper quotations needed. And let's say, for example, let's change the pricing rate. It looks like I have an error, so let's see. Okay, it's mainly because my order is in a different date range, so I just need to change my date range. So let's change this to, a similar date range, 04 29, I believe, 04 and it should confirm, and it did. And we can check that line by going into it, and it should have changed my CPM to an appropriate value. So what did I change it to? I changed it to $5. It's down here. Let's just make sure I'm looking at the right. The right line item. So here it is. Let's see what price it's at. One second. It seems like it didn't change it. Let me look at this one more time. Underscore rate. It's $5. There you go, it just didn't refresh. And again, if you want to change multiple line items, it will be multiple JSON objects separated by commas surrounded by one set of square brackets. To make things easier, I've outlined in an Excel spreadsheet some simple fields that you can quickly add in. So, for example, if you wanted to edit an order, you'll enter in the order UIDs here that you like. If you want to edit name or start date, you can, but you could, what's in asterisk is optional, and so the only thing that you'll need to do is drag down these specific text pieces. So it's okay if you leave some blank because they are optional. We just want to structure a JSON call, and then this last field is the concatenated object automatically. So it's just a concatenate of the fields so that you can easily make a listing of JSON objects and paste it into Postman. Okay, and the same was done for LineItem, focusing mainly on the most frequently edited pieces. As I mentioned, LineItem targeting is not covered in this session, but you can easily look up LineItem targeting in our API docs. This concludes our session of demonstrating edits to an order and a LineItem.